وسهلا بكل الذين ينضموا للاستماع إلى راديو بلدي أول راديو عربي أمريكي ويعنى بقضايا العرب في المهجر. برامجنا في راديو بلدي كل يوم جمعة من 8 وحتى 9 صباحا في بث حي ومباشر عبر WNZK راديو 690 AM. صباح الخير بلدي، صباح الخير لكل مستمعينا.
Welcome to Radio Baladi, the first Arab, Middle Eastern, and American simulcast radio show. Radio Baladi is broadcast every Friday morning on WNZK 690 AM from 8 until 9 Eastern Time on Good Morning Michigan. Our call-in number 248-557-3300. And now, stay tuned for the best radio talk show on Arab and American issues.
And good morning, everybody. This is Ray Hanania. It's Radio Baladi, Friday, January 13, 2023, with a nice lineup of guests that we're going to be talking to here at WNZK AM 690. Our first guest joining us momentarily is Abdelnasser Rashid, a great guy who won the 21st district race in Illinois as a state representative. He was sworn in this past week to represent that district, which has a large Arab American population. He's a longtime activist of Palestinian heritage, and he'll be taking on some of the big issues in the legislature in Springfield. I'm really confident he really is a good guy. He understands politics. He's going to work from in the system, hopefully to change it. Then at 15 minutes, we're going to turn to, in Detroit time, 8:15, 7:15 in Chicago. We have Chicago Alderman Raymond Lopez, one of the most honest and ethical members of the Chicago City Council that I've ever met in more than 45 years of covering Chicago politics. Alderman Lopez was not hesitant to stand up for the rights of Arab business owners in September 21 and May 22 to defend them against the racist attack from Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot, who closed more than 50 Arab American-owned stores in the city in a harebrained scheme to make it look like she was cracking down on street gang-related violence. She never apologized for that action, but has coddled up with some Arab American traitors, in my opinion, who are trying to whitewash and forget about what she did in the hopes they can help her get reelected on February 28th in exchange for benefits for themselves, not the community. It's terrible. The fight against Lightfoot's racism was championed by the American Arab Chamber of Commerce and the Arab Democratic Club. Alderman Lopez was a candidate for mayor, but in an act of concern for the public good, rather than for himself, he withdrew to support Dr. Willie Wilson in the mayoral contest. By the way, the Arab American Democratic Club has its candidate forum and brunch at Nico's Banquets on 7600 Harlem Avenue on Sunday, February 12th at 10 a.m. The Arab community needs to be there. Give yourself a voice, people. Go to the ArabDemocraticClub.com to get more info on tickets and the event. And look me up on TikTok at Ray Hanania to keep up with my political reports and my stand-up comedy bits. And of course, I love to cook Middle Eastern food, and I'm going to pretend like I'm smoking a cigar here on radio because my wife will kill me if I'm smoking down in my office. I can't do that. So Abdelnasser will be on in a moment. He just texted me. He says he's coming on board. He's a good guy. I want you to meet him. And later on, we're going to talk with Raymond Lopez. Here, let's see. Here he is. Let's bring him right on to our Zoom. By the way, make sure to check out my columns at hanania.com and stay involved. Let's welcome Abdelnasser Rashid here at Arab Radio in Detroit, broadcasting live. Abdelnasser, it's so good to see you. Now you're only a state representative. Is that it? Congratulations.
Good morning,
man.
Ray.
Congratulations.
Thank
listen,
you so much.
What's exciting about you is you are open to everybody. You've tried to reach out to everybody because I think you're smart. You realize that in order to get things done, you got to work from within the system and change it that way, rather than beating it on the head from the outside the way I do sometimes, which doesn't always work.
Well, you need a little bit of both. Well, first of all, let me just say thank you so much for having me on. For people who may be watching who don't know who I am, my name is Abdelnasser Rashid. I was just elected. Actually, I was just sworn in as state representative in Illinois' 21st district. It's a district that includes some of the southwest side of Chicago, and western and southwest suburbs, Berwyn, Cicero, Riverside, and it goes south to Bridgeview, Illinois. So I'm the first Palestinian elected to the legislature, one of two Muslims who was elected, along with my good friend Nabila Sayed. And it's been just a phenomenal week, and such a historic week. There were other people who made history as well. My Han Nguyen is the first Vietnamese American elected to the legislature. We have a Korean American, so it's going to be an incredibly diverse legislature, the most diverse I think in the country. And it's exciting to see our state government starting to reflect the population in our state. It's pretty incredible.
And can you actually, I mean, listen, you're a legislator, you're an American, but you're Palestinian American and you happen to be Muslim. And that is huge. It's a sense of pride for everybody in the Arab American community, especially the Palestinian community, because we've never really had a voice there. There have been some other Arab Americans that were elected. I think Clem Balanoff, whose mother was Syrian, from the Middle East. He served in the legislature. I tried to run back in the 90s with Miriam Zayed, running my campaign. That was a tough fight. People hated us. What was the reception like for you in the legislature today? I'm assuming it's different and much more welcoming.
Oh, people have been incredibly welcoming. It was wonderful. I mean, people definitely embraced me and others who came in who don't exactly look like how the legislature has looked at any point. And so, no, I really had a great time. Have got a chance to work with so many of my colleagues and have great conversations about what we're going to do to move our state forward. So no, it's I think things have come a long way since people like Miriam Zayed, who built the foundation for what I'm able to do. I recognize that this isn't something that I was able to do on my own. There are incredible leaders and visionaries who've created they really created fertile soil for us to be able to achieve what we've been able to accomplish.
And for listeners, just a reminder, especially those in Chicago who are listening, February 12th is the Arab American Democratic Club Candidates Brunch and Forum. And I think Abdelnasser Rashid is going to be there. And we're going to have you get up there and speak and talk, because now you are a community leader. It's on your shoulders.
Thank you. I've gone to every Arab American Democratic Club breakfast.
Yes, you have.
I'll be at this one, that's for sure.
We're going to be proud to have you there. Tell us about some of what can you really do? I mean, there are some tough battles that are going to anger people, and then there's some battles that you can join in to, help change. Give us kind of a sense of what you think you'll be able to address. First of all, generally for all of the district and society, and then maybe what advances can we expect maybe for Arab Americans, Muslims, and Palestinians in the legislature?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I'm going to be focused on making sure that we improve the quality of life for residents in the district and throughout the state. That means taking on rising inflation, rising property taxes, creating more affordable housing, expanding access to healthcare. These are things that we can do at the state level. Protecting our environment. I'm passionate about increasing funding for education, because if we put more money in our schools, one, we get better schools and our children can have better futures. But it also means that our school boards don't face so significant pressure to keep raising property taxes. If people look at their property tax bills, you'll see that 60 to 70% of them generally go to public education. And that's because our state hasn't yet reached a point where we're putting sufficient funding into education. So those are some things, generally that I'll be working closely on with my colleagues. For the Middle Eastern, North African community, the MENA community, I will be, and it's been great because people have been coming to me to say, hey, we're so glad that you're here. We want to work with you on making sure that
phenomenal.
That your community is getting the services it needs and is being counted. So folks may be aware that President Trump forced the census director to remove the MENA category from the census.
He's a goof. Trump was a goof.
unfortunately, so in 2020, the census was supposed to have the checkbox for people to identify as Middle Eastern, North African in the race section, but that was removed. So we have to wait until 2030 to bring that back there. But we don't need to wait until then for states to be able to start counting the Mina community here. So I'm going to be working with my colleagues to make sure that we're to pass a bill that has state agencies count us, and a range of other things. We need to do an economic study to make sure that to put us on a path toward having Middle Eastern, North African communities and the Arab community qualify for business contracting and other benefits.
I know that State Representative Cyril Nichols speaks very highly of you. He said he met you a couple times. He's introduced a legislation to include Arabs in the MBE, Minority Business Enterprise category. Is that something you can support?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
It's a great idea, isn't it? I mean, I've covered politics 45 years. I've never heard of anybody doing it. And I'm just so glad to hear that it's a priority with you also. It is
a huge priority. And it's very important that we do that. There is no reason that Arab Americans shouldn't be considered minorities for the purposes of business contracts when every other minority group essentially is. And so it makes perfect sense. And I'm really grateful to Representative Nichols for his work on this.
And when you were running, did you feel that you were being targeted because you were Palestinian? Because in the past, anytime you'd bring up the P word, it would just bring a barrage of criticism, media censorship. It seems like things have changed a little bit where they've really kind of showcased you. And like I say, I mean, it makes the community proud that you're at the front line doing the things that you're doing. Whether I agree with you 100% or not is besides the point. You know, you're there fighting for a lot of the issues that the Arab community fights for. What's it like today? I mean, is it more welcoming?
Yeah, Ray, you saw, in my campaign that we were talking to everybody. We were knocking on doors throughout the district. We left no stone unturned, making sure that people met me, people met my campaign team, my volunteers, and that we took a message to people that resonated with them, uplifting working class families and middle class families, fighting for workers, fighting to get weapons of war off our streets, fighting to protect a woman's right to choose. These messages resonated with people. And so they supported me. And yes, we have, I think, come to a point where first of all, names like mine, Abdelnasser Rashid, are not so foreign to people that they're unwilling to vote for them. Now they may be, it is still a different name that people maybe are used to, but it is no longer the type of barrier that it used to be, like you said, when Miriam Zayed first was trailblazing, in this field. So yeah, I now that's not to say that there aren't challenges. Of course, there are some people who would not like to have a Palestinian or Muslims in the legislature, and that's something that that's their problem, not mine.
Good.
And what I'm going to continue to do is to make sure that voters know that we're there, that I'm there fighting for them in Springfield. And making sure that I'm accessible to them. We're going to be opening an office in our district in Berwyn just within a couple of weeks. People are going to be able to come in to get services. We're going to have plenty of opportunities for folks to get the services they need and to get to meet me and my team. So that to answer your question, absolutely, people have been welcoming and supportive, and that's why I absolutely love the 21st district.
And make sure they put out press releases. Make sure you get releases out. Don't wait for the media to get up to cover you. They don't have enough reporters anymore. So you got to do the writing, get your story out so we can distribute it. The Arab community, we have a very difficult communications network. We don't have a lot of papers. It's very troubling. Maybe you can do something to help our community get a lot of the things that we don't get from the state. One last tough question, if I can.
Sure.
BDS, Illinois was one of the first states to pass the BDS law. Is that something that can be addressed in a smart way, or will it be to avoid the expected confrontational fight? Is that something that can be addressed, do you think, or is that something we got to wait till you're stronger and Nabila Syed is stronger? and we build up some credentials out there and support. What do you think can be done?
No, it's a great question. And I think anyone who's watching who's familiar with the issue and cares about it should contact their legislator to let them know, why this was a problematic law. And my friend Marilyn Katz wrote an editorial.
She's phenomenal. Marilyn is phenomenal.
Yeah, she wrote an editorial in Crane's Business Chicago, talking about how Ben and Jerry's was penalized for boycotting Israeli settlements as a result of this law that passed in 2015. And so I think folks who care about this should absolutely contact their legislators. I think the more educated people are, the more likely we can have a robust conversation on this.
We can't heap it on your shoulders and say you change it.
No,
we got to convince our legislators in all these other districts to get them to understand.
Absolutely, if we're going to want to see, if we want change, it's going to have to be something that a lot of people come along. I'm a piece of that, and I'm happy to be working on it. However, it's going to be something that the legislature overall is going to need to hear about from their constituents and from residents of the district.
State Representative Rashid, I know this is difficult. I know that we're cutting into your time, and we'd really appreciate you giving us some moments here this morning. Any final thoughts from you? Anything that I didn't ask about that you want to drive home and make sure people understand?
I just want to thank the community for being so supportive, and not just of me, but of so many Arab candidates and Muslim candidates and minority candidates running across the country. It's been an incredible few years for more diversity and representation. And so I want to thank the folks who are listening who knocked on doors and supported us in so many other ways, and may have given a small donation. I couldn't have done it without the community support, and I'm extremely grateful for that. And
we're looking for great things from you, Abdelnasser. Thank you so much for joining us. It really was a pleasure. I'm so happy to be able to support you and see you rise up. And you're so much different from what I thought in the very beginning years ago. And I got to tell you, I slap myself and I say, you know what? I didn't see this guy for what he really was: open, smart, willing to work with everybody. There wasn't one issue that was like the stumbling block. It was a lot of issues, and the majority of those issues we agree on, probably 90% of them, maybe 95%. So anything that we can do to help you get the word out, we want to do it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ray. Thanks.
All right, buddy. We'll see. Oh, and what's your website where people can get more information?
So for my campaign website, rashidforillinois.com, RASHIDFOR Illinois.com. You can learn more about the issues that I ran on and get in touch with with us that way.
All right, State Representative Abdelnasser Rashid joining us. We really appreciate it, being so gracious. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ray.
All right, buddy. We'll talk to you later. And we're going to take a quick break here at Radio Baladi. And when we come back, we're going to be talking with Chicago Alderman Raymond Lopez, probably one of the best members of the city council I have met, and I have covered the city council for 45 years. This guy is phenomenal. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back to talk with Alderman Raymond Lopez of the 15th Ward.
ArabNews.com, bringing you breaking news from across the Middle East and the latest on Arabs in America. Get inside the latest headlines with expert analysis and insights at ArabNews.com. Join over 5 million Facebook fans and over 10 million monthly readers. ArabNews.com, news that matters to you.
Our noses can sniff out all kinds of things, good things and bad things. Your nose knows if those sniffles are just a cold, allergies, or COVID-19. So if you want to be sure, swab and test your nose for answers. It's good to know. Find testing information and resources at michigan.gov/COVID test. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
Get ready for an amazing experience at Ishtar Restaurant on 15 Mile Road in Sterling Heights. Enjoy excellent hospitality from owners Ali Al-Baghdadi and Fatty Bottom, serving the best in Mediterranean food. Try Chef Ali Al-Baghdadi's famous shawarma, the best Iraqi grills and food, and the best Arabic and international dishes. Dine in our authentic atmosphere or take out. Call 586-698-2585 or check us out on Facebook. Ishtar Restaurant practices all CDC guidelines and is open every day, 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. Have an amazing experience today at Ishtar Restaurant, 3625 15 Mile Road, Sterling Heights. At Top Rehab Physical Therapy Clinic in Dearborn, we provide effective physical therapy sessions in order to limit pain and discomfort. Top Rehab provides physical therapy care for any diagnosis prescribed by a physician, and we regularly see and treat conditions such as stroke, TMJ, fibromyalgia, sciatica, joint pain, and more. We use a variety of pain management methods, including modalities, soft tissue mobilization, and therapeutic exercise. If you're in need of physical rehabilitation or physical therapy, get the highest quality health care at Top Rehab. Most insurance is accepted, and we're open Monday, Wednesday, and Friday 8 to 6, Tuesday and Thursday 8 to 5, and Saturday 10 till 2. Call for an appointment today at 313-846-0555. That's 313-846-0555. Choose Top Rehab Physical Therapy Clinic on Michigan Avenue in Dearborn. Life's too short to be in pain.
And welcome back to Radio Baladi. I'm Ray Hanania. We're broadcasting in Detroit on WNZK AM 690 radio, and also live streaming at U.S. Arab Radio on Facebook. We'll also have this posted on YouTube and distributed all over social media. I'm really honored to have our next guest, Alderman Raymond Lopez. Like I said, I covered City Hall for almost 20 years. And I've covered politics 45 years. I really think Alderman Lopez is probably the best representative of from the city of Chicago I have ever met. Honest, straightforward, doesn't give you any BS. And when I visit his website, it's not about him. When you go to the 15th Ward, it's about the people, it's about the ward, it's about what the ward does. Alderman, welcome to the program. It really is an honor to have you here.
Ray, it's always good to be back. Good morning.
Good morning. Now, you've done so many great things. You never hesitated to stand up for Arab Americans. And, for some people, it's hard to do because, we have such bad media in Illinois that people hear the word Arab or Palestinian, they get not afraid, but they're just shy about standing up. You didn't hesitate when Arab businesses were being targeted by Mayor Lori Lightfoot. You stood up with them. One of the first in the summer of 2021. You didn't just leave, because it was a good opportunity. You stuck with us the whole time. You being at our press conference got the media to come and pay attention. Had you not been there, I'm not sure we would have gotten the coverage we got. And then it happened again in May 2022, and you helped us again then. So first, I want to thank you. But secondly, that's something new for us in our community. And I think the Arab community owes you, and they need to stand up. They need to support you, and they need to know who you are, because you can be a huge asset for justice and fairness and equality in the city of Chicago and the region.
Well, I think, Ray, without question, ever since 9/11, the media and the perception of Arab Americans and Middle Eastern individuals has always been negative. And it always makes non-community members jittery just because they only hear bad stories.
Right.
And it's unfortunate because there are millions of loving, great individuals who are part of this community, many whom I know, many that I'm speaking to right now in particular, who are just trying to go about their life and do the right thing on a daily basis. And if you are a leader and you are someone who believes in doing what's right and calling out good and calling out bad, it's a no-brainer to stand with the Arab American community when they were being targeted unfairly by this administration, not once, but twice, as scapegoats for the crime that they were seeing in communities, particularly the Black community, rather than focus on the root causes that were driving those shootings and those situations, the drug dealing, the open air drug markets, that oftentimes many of our Arab American business owners were pleading with police for help but falling on deaf ears. The mayor sought to shift the blame elsewhere, and it was unfortunate. And I think that as we move forward, the challenge for the Arab American and indeed the entire Middle Eastern North African community is not just to be close to the power circles, because we see plenty in our community, plenty in the Latino community, Arab community, and others who think that simply getting in the photo is enough.
Right.
It is not enough. What the challenge for the Arab community has to be is to be recognized as a player and a vital voting bloc in our institutions that demands respect, just as any other demographic would expect the same.
And I think that that's such an important point, because when I talk to Arab Americans, I say, listen, you can't wait until there's a crisis or your store is targeted. You got to stand up when everything is good, knowing that something bad could happen. And to also understand that involvement, people like you, we need to support you. We have to support you because honestly, Alderman, had you not been there in the summer of 2021, nobody would have covered us. The fact that an elected Chicago alderman was willing to stand up, and several others joined Silvana Tabares later, and not to say that they joined late, but there were other voices that joined us. But the first person to stand up is the courageous one. That's the one that we have to take note of. And I hope every Arab American who is out there listening to this needs to understand that they need to stand up for you. You did something phenomenal, and I want to ask you why you did that. You were going to run for mayor of Chicago, but you decided to do the better thing and decide, instead of making it about you, to make it about Chicago. You withdrew from the election and you decided to support Dr. Willie Wilson. Now you're helping to consolidate forces to unseat Mayor Lori Lightfoot. What was the main reason? I think that was one of the reasons, but what, in your words, what's the main reason why you decided not to run for mayor?
No, Ray, you summed it up very well. When you look at how the mayoral race was shaping up, at that point, there were 12 or 13 individuals in this race. And politically speaking, you have to go where the numbers are, and you have to see where the paths take people. And when I entered the race, I saw and knew what my path was to victory. With all of the individuals jumping into the race, it became evident to me that a window was opening to give the mayor a path to victory as well. And none of us, I think, can want to see her return to office. We want to see a change. We want to see our city get back on the right foot. We want to see all people invited to the table again. And that's not going to happen with this administration. And if I had stayed in the race, her window of opportunity would have grown. And she saw that and sensed that. She saw that there was a way where she would probably be in a runoff with maybe someone more extreme on the left of her. And she was already trying to market herself as the sane choice, as the real choice for mayor. And she is far from the sane choice.
Yeah.
Aside from everything she's done to the Arab American community, there are communities all across this city that have been destroyed because of her policies and reactions to COVID and the pandemic and the civil unrest and policing, and the list goes on and on and on. So I could have chosen to either made this election about me and my vanity, or I could have, for lack of a better term, taken one for the team and said the right thing in this moment is to step back, allow the opposition to coalesce and consolidate, and give a stronger opposition to her to prevent her from making it to the runoff and again being reelected.
Now, we're going to take a break in a minute, but before I do that, I want to do this several times during the show. How do Arab Americans and anybody, what's the best way for them to get information about you're running for reelection in the 15th Ward? And I can say without any hesitation, I support you 100%. I think you're a great alderman. And like I said, in all the years I've covered City Hall for many years, I think you're one of the better aldermen I've ever met. And that's a lot of aldermen.
Yeah,
that's a lot, I'm telling you. And I think it's a great asset to the city that you're in the city council. So how is there a place they can go to get information And I want to repeat this over and over during the show today. Where can they go online or Facebook? Where should they go to get information to help you?
Viewers can follow me on Facebook. We have websites, we have Twitter, we have all of that. Everything that they need to do is there. And as you mentioned earlier, especially on the official side, there's websites there if they need services and things of that nature. Whichever side of my life they want to be a part of, you can find it online and on Facebook and social media.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back here at Arab Radio, we're going to be talking with, continuing our discussion with Alderman Raymond Lopez of the 15th Ward. He's from Chicago, and he's done so much for the Arab American community. And the Arab American community now needs to help him because there's an election February 28th. He's running for re-election. As alderman of the 15th Ward, we need him there because he is a voice for Arab Americans. And I know, and we're going to talk about this, Mayor Lightfoot does not want him to be there. So you cannot let her do anything to take him out. We need to stand up for him now and support him. I'm Ray Hanania. We're going to be right back right after these messages.
Ziyad brand, quality products from our family to yours. Ziyad Brothers Importing offers the finest quality products, including brands like Sultan, Kraft, Nestle, Hook, Rico Picon, Donna, and many more. Ask your retailer to carry these fine products because you deserve the very best. For more information, visit our website at www.ziyad.com. That's www.ziyad.com. Ziyad, quality products from our family to yours.
When you're looking for the best in optical care, Dr. Imad Nakash is your doctor to see. With years of experience and thousands of successful procedures performed, you can trust your eyes to Dr. Imad Nakash. See Dr. Imad Nakash and his professional staff for your eye care needs. There's 2 locations to serve you. In Hazel Park, call 248-336-3937. 248-336-3937. In Rochester Hills, call 248-299-3937. That's 248-299-3937.
Enjoy the first Syrian-style cuisine in Michigan. At Damas Cuisine and Catering, you'll find a wide selection of Syrian foods and sweets in our menu, like frikeh, poisi, grape leaves with steak, mishawi platter, hot mahashi, char-grilled kebab, shawarma, and much more. Get super fast delivery from Damas Cuisine and Catering right to your door. Order online at damascuisine.com/menu and track your order live. Damas Cuisine and Catering, 28841 Orchard Lake Road in Farmington Hills. Call 248-987-4985. When it comes to reproductive medicine, IVF Michigan fertility centers are the recognized leaders. With locations in Bloomfield Hills and 5 other cities in Michigan and Ohio, IVF has experts in all aspects of the field. As a founding member of IVF Michigan Fertility Centers, Dr. Nicholas Shama is one of the leading reproductive endocrinologists in Michigan and Ohio. Dr. Shama has performed over 10,000 IVF cases and has helped thousands of couples fulfill their dreams of parenthood. American board certified in both obstetrics and gynecology and reproductive endocrinology and infertility, Dr. Nicholas Shama is a very caring, compassionate, expert physician that understands not only the medical but also the emotional toil of infertility on his patients. When it's time, get personalized care from Dr. Nicholas Shama at IVF Michigan Fertility Centers in Michigan and Ohio. Call toll-free 855-952-9600, 855-952-9600.
And welcome back to Arab Radio. I'm your host, Ray Hanania, with my guest, Alderman Raymond Lopez. For those people out there, you want to do something to help Raymond Lopez, you need to do it. He's done so much for the Arab community in Chicago, which does a lot for everybody. So you don't have to be in Chicago. You can be in the suburbs. You can be in Detroit, Michigan. You can do something to help him make sure that his voice stands there after February 28th, so that he can support not just Arab Americans, but all Americans. He supports everybody. But when the Arab American community needed him, he was there. His website is, the campaign website is withray2023.com. Withray2023.com. And of course, if you live in the 15th Ward and you want to get services, You go to that website, I'm telling you, it doesn't talk about him. It talks about you, what you need. And that website is the15thward.org. Alderman, I was reading this week in the paper, some media were kind of softballing it, but it looked like Mayor Lightfoot really crossed an ethical line when she tried to recruit students at the Chicago public schools, which she has huge influence over, to help her get reelected. Is that an act of desperation or stupidity on her part?
Both, and it's illegal. And let's be clear, as the story has unfolded, no, it isn't just a matter of the mayor's campaign using government emails to try to solicit support from teachers and their students. She also did the same to city colleges of Chicago. And one of her opponents, Alderman Rod Sawyer, said that she's also done it to city workers directly, who are directly under her control. All of these are illegal and unethical. And what I believe it shows is not only desperation, but a diminished moral license. And I've used this term before in describing her, in that she believes that because she is the great Lori Lightfoot, because she had the mandate in the lowest turnout in history, that there's nothing that she can do wrong in order to preserve her power. And we've seen these ethical breaches time and time again. Right now, she has 4 different ethics investigations going on from 3 different agencies, a month and a half out from her election. The other 2 being from an investigation that I actually started with regards to her getting $25,000 donation from an individual who got 24 acres of city land that was supposed to be used for public housing, but instead is going to be turned into a giant soccer stadium.
Wow.
You know, there are limits to what you can take in Chicago in terms of contributions from individuals who have active business before the body. And she completely ignored those rules just to get her campaign donations. Aside from the fact that she's also getting campaign donations and diminished rent from the individual who she specifically named as the temporary casino location downtown that wasn't even part of the RFP, but that she included at the last minute.
Now, a lot of this stuff can get complicated for voters out there. When I look at her, I see somebody who is somewhat of a hypocrite. She is a minority. She's a woman. She's Black. She's with the LGBTQ community, and yet she's targeting minorities. It doesn't make sense to me. And then here's a person who said that she was going to change the city and fight for to defend the citizens. I don't think she's done enough to stand up to the crime that's been sweeping through the city and which overlaps into the suburbs. What are some of the big issues she's failed with in terms of doing things for the city of Chicago? She's the mayor.
Ray, how long is this show?
I know it's not long. Unfortunately, Arabs only get 1 hour. Years ago, it used to be we had the Arab radio hour. It was only 30 minutes long, okay? We were able to change that, but it's taken us 40 years. We're getting there, though. But tell us about some of the issues where she's failed, and she said she was going to do things to remind voters that she hasn't come through with one campaign promise from 4 years ago.
Well, I think you're absolutely right, Ray. She's the model of hypocrisy in government right now. And just take in her slogan, bring in the light. Remember, she ran on, I'm going to bring in the light, her flashlights and all those other crazy things. It was cute. It was kitschy. And it's what government needed, someone to shine the light on what's going on, to bring true transparency. It's what she ran on. And here she is now, the most secretive mayor in Chicago history, who has taken a more exclusionary stance than Mayor Daley and Mayor Emanuel combined. She's been sued by the state of Illinois for failing to produce documents and for failing to comply with Freedom of Information Act requests. She's being sued right now in the state for those very matters that she claimed that she was going to shed light on. And I think when you look at not just her campaign promises, but on the promise that was her, you know, to have someone who is African-American, have someone who is a woman, have someone who is LGBTQ+, to have someone who had all of those connections to communities and to people that were looking for a lift, to have that individual basically spit in your face and turn her back on them. She has failed the Black community. She hasn't done anything but gaslight women. And when you look at the LGBTQ plus, you know, we don't talk about bringing HIV numbers and STI numbers down. We don't give out, you know, condoms and contraceptives to individuals in high risk behaviors. We don't address any of their needs because all of that has been pushed to the wayside as she pushes her agenda of targeting the police department, bringing our police officers, pushing them to the brink every day, where we've got suicides at their highest rate in a decade in this city. And by defunding through attrition, a department that should be able to keep 2.7 million people safe, but is afraid and now not even allowed to chase criminals that they see out of fear of being fired or being made to face a lawsuit because the mayor doesn't like them anymore.
Well, when you were going to run for mayor, I'm sure you had ideas. And now, of course, you're supporting Dr. Willie Wilson, by the way, which I think is a great choice. You've made me happy, and I hate to say this because you would have made a great mayor, Ray, honestly, Raymond. But I had a difficult choice because I like both of you. So now it's like, okay, maybe there's a chance that we can get somebody elected that's going to change things. But when you were a candidate, what were some of the things that you thought needed to be done that a mayor can do to improve the city? Now, we got a few minutes before we go to our next break, but we do have time. Tell us about some of the things that you think should be done in the city of Chicago.
Well, I could sum it up in one word: ownership. And you need a mayor who takes ownership of the problems of this city. Someone who's not afraid to say, I'm sorry, we made a mistake, let's fix this. Or this is something that we didn't know about, how can we make this better? And you go back to even like my website, which you referenced, where it's not about patting me on the back, but it's about getting progress and helping neighborhoods. You only do that if you take ownership of people's problems. And I learned that from my airline days. You can't just push people off and let someone else handle it. You have to fix them while they're in front of you. And that's something that this mayor has never done. It's always someone else's problem, someone else's fault, someone else is holding her back when she's the center of the political universe. And I think that the next administration, Dr. Wilson or other, has to be one to take ownership of what's going on in the city of Chicago and not pass the buck at every turn because it's politically expedient. If that's what you need in order to lift this city up, to address many of these issues, and to fix the problems that Lori Lightfoot will be leaving her successor.
In other words, you do something wrong, stand up, be honest, and say, listen, I made a mistake. What's important is the community. Right. I'm going to change it because I want to do what's good for you. I think people would appreciate that kind of refreshing, approach to politics that you have.
In my ward, people are shocked that I say, I'm sorry so much, but I have no problem apologizing when something goes wrong, because that's the only way you can make it right.
And because the intent is to do good. And if it doesn't work out, then you want to say, listen, let's reset. Let's find the way to make it good for you. Instead, Lori Lightfoot, and, in the incident, I haven't had a lot of contact with her. She wouldn't respond to any of my email requests for comment. She just really tried to avoid us, thinking Arabs are insignificant. I don't need to listen to them. If we're going to do something to make it look like I'm doing something to fight street gangs, let's pick on the Arab community because they're visible. They don't have a voice. Thankfully to you, we did have a voice. She wasn't being honest, and she wouldn't even admit that what she did was wrong. In fact, she's reaching out to the Arab community, telling them that she'll appoint people to positions, she'll give you jobs, she'll give you contracts, but she needs you to support her. And I'm thinking, are you kidding me? She wants the Arab community to support her. And of course, there are some Arabs that are Arab Americans that are going to do that because it's about them, not the community. Fortunately, the community, though, I think is still very upset about what she did. You want a quick comment, and then I got to take one more break.
The Arab community should judge those asking for their support by what those people have done for or to the community, not what they're promising.
Right.
She's going to promise the world right now, as any candidate might.
Right.
But look back at their record and see what people have done to stand with your community, particularly when people were turning their back on it. Those are the friends you need to keep.
All right, we got to take a break here at Arab Radio, brought to you by Layla El Husseini, who is based in Detroit. Here's a Muslim, Arab, Syrian American woman who has put together one of the biggest radio conglomerates in the United States, broadcasting Monday through Friday in Detroit, always trying to expand. If you're a business out there, you need to support her and advertise. We're going to go to our ads. And when we come back, we will continue this discussion with our guest, Alderman Raymond Lopez. He's somebody you need to know. And to get to know him, you want to go to his website, his campaign website. And this is me, not him, pushing the campaign, because he's too honest. He just won't, he's just good. The campaign website is withray2023.com. Go there and help him. I'm Ray Hanania. We'll be right back right after these messages.
Are you going to start a restaurant or a grocery store soon? Do you need floor plans and designs? Call Naji Abood at 734-744-9796. Do you want to buy kitchen and restaurant equipment at discount prices? Call Naji Abood now, 734-744-9796. New Concept Products and Design, the trademark of kitchen equipment. 5% discount on all purchases of $75,000 or more. New Concept Products and Design, new location, 31185 Schoolcraft in Livonia. Learn more at www.newconceptproducts.com. Call Naji Abood, 734-744-9796.
Kashat's Mediterranean Market in Shish Kebab offers a great array of your favorite Mediterranean meals. Meals range from lamb specialties, shawarma sandwiches, and seafood dinners. Plus, they offer big trays of your favorite food and so much more. Kashat's Mediterranean Market in Shish Kebab is located at 32839 Northwestern Highway in Farmington Hills and is open from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. So stop in or call Kashat's today at 248-538-9552. That number again, 248-538-9552. Kashat's Mediterranean Market in Shish Kebab will definitely leave you satisfied. Life is a nonprofit charity that's provided humanitarian aid and development to people and communities for over 25 years, regardless of race, color, religion, or cultural background. When disaster occurs here or around the world, Life for Relief and Development rushes in to provide food, medical aid, and shelter to those in need. Please help improve these efforts. Make your tax-deductible donation to Life now at lifeusa.org or call 248-424-7493.
Are your hands feeling numb? Do you feel pain opening up a jar, turning a key? Are you noticing that your elbow and your shoulder are becoming stiff? Or were you recently injured in your arm? Hello, I'm Dr. Abdelnasser Rashid, and at the Katranji Hand Center, which just recently opened down the street from the Somerset Mall, we can provide you with the latest in hand, wrist, elbow, and shoulder care. Visit us at www.katranjihandcenter.com to learn the latest techniques that we have to offer you, and I look forward to taking care of you.
Visit us in Troy at 1565 West Big Beaver Road, Building F, or call Katranji Hand Center for an appointment at 248-869-4263. That's 248-869-4263.
And welcome back to Arab Radio. I'm Ray Hanania here at WNZK AM 690. My website is hanania.com. You can go there and read all my columns on every issue out there. I'm on with our guest, who probably someone I admire because he's done so much in Chicago, so honest, so ethical, so refreshing, compared to what the city council in Chicago has had over the years, and a person who's not afraid to stand up for what's right. It's very hard, believe it or not, for a lot of politicians and elected officials to stand up for Arab Americans. There's so much controversy, so much negative news out there about us that they would prefer to stay away from us. But not this guy, Alderman Ray Lopez, 15th Ward in Chicago. He stood up. He didn't hesitate when we needed him. And now, in my opinion, he needs us, and we need to stand up and support him. And I'm urging you to go to his website at withray2023.com. He's running for re-election in the February 28th election in Chicago. You don't have to live in Chicago to help him. You can be in the suburbs. You can even be in Detroit and in Michigan. Arab Americans need to stand up for the people that stand up for us. And he's one of those people. Alderman, I know that this election is fast. You know, when you really think about it, we're only talking about 6 weeks. What do you think is going to decide that election for voters? I mean, the reality, is it crime? I know you said education is an important issue, being honest. Lightfoot's rhetoric has been horrible, so undignified sometimes. I'm thinking, wow, why does she have to get in the gutter to respond to people that she doesn't like? I've never heard that before. Even as a Chicago reporter, when I covered City Hall, I think she's dragging the city down. It's in a terrible shape today, some areas.
Well, definitely, I think what will motivate voters is what always motivates voters is what they can see in the 10 feet in front of their house and the 10 feet behind. And we know that if they look out and see potholes and rats and lights that don't work, that's going to motivate them to make some changes in those wards and for the administration if they're not getting the services. But I think overwhelmingly, the one thing that unites all voters in the city of Chicago is this feeling that they are under siege, that they are potential victims of crime, no matter where you go. When you have communities having to pay for their own armed security to keep them safe, when you have individuals I have a friend who lives across the street from a restaurant, and she will drive across the street to avoid walking so that she minimizes the risk of being attacked just for walking down the block. And that's in all neighborhoods. That is going to drive a lot of people out who want to see change and want to see something different. But it also, the problem is that anger is going to be tampered down with that race to the bottom mentality that we see in the mayor's politics and and that we're going to see in some of the candidates. People do not want to see negative politicking that avoids the issues. They want to hear leaders that are going to stand up and provide solutions. And if all we get is guttural politics, no matter how angry they are, people are just going to wash their hands of it and say, you know what, what's the point? Nothing's going to change. I'm staying home. And as you know, a politician is not afraid of a voter who stays home.
Right.
You do not scare me by wringing your hands and saying, well, if you don't fix it, I'm staying home to vote.
Right.
I'm not going to vote. Go ahead. You're not going to impact that politician. The only way you scare politicians, the only way you make them do what you want to do is by showing up to vote. Because if you vote, that means now you are making your voice heard. They have to earn it. And if they vote against them, they got to find 2 other people to vote for them. You cause a whole different wave of possibilities when you actually come out and vote, as opposed to staying at home in your living room, thinking that by removing yourself, you're actually doing some harm.
In fairness, tell us about many of the things that you've done in the 15th ward also for people that are out there, hopefully in the 15th ward that'll hear this. You've done a lot of good things out there. Tell us a little bit about some of the things that you're not a hypocrite who says she needs to do this, but I do it differently. Everything that you're telling her to do, you're doing yourself. Give us some ideas about what the 15th ward is like today.
When I took over the 15th ward, we were a collection of neighborhoods that nobody wanted from the last remap. We were 4 distinct communities in Back of the Yards, Brighton Park, Gage Park, and West Englewood that were all combined simply by Western Boulevard in 4 different directions. Now my ward stretches from Canaryville all the way south to Chicago Lawn, and all points in between. But in my ward, I know that you can't have cookie cutter solutions to different neighborhoods. You have to listen to people. You have to figure out what solutions work in their communities and what are the problems that you can try to not only fix, but also avoid. And we've been very proactive in doing that. I've already been addressing a number of the issues for Chicago Lawn, for example, where there's been a lot of construction and investment, but it left the neighborhood looking in a very shoddy way. So we've been fixing that. We've also been ensuring that we're bringing services to everyone that they're not used to. For example, in my ward, unlike most wards in Chicago, we do street cleaning every month from March until November. That is a new thing for many people. And we want to just ensure that we are being proactive with our services, routinely doing rodent abatement, tree trimming, aggressively going out looking for abandoned cars and things of that nature, so that people don't have to call, that issues are being taken care of before they even open their windows and look out their front door. So we are doing all of that now. And that proactiveness is usually what gets people to love me, because the less you have to call me for things, the better your community is, because we're already on top of it. And we look forward to continuing what we're doing through this term and on to the next one.
And they don't have to hunt you down. You're there. And I look
And I'm one of the few aldermen that still does ward night.
Yes, yeah, that's true. And I have to tell you, I looked at your ward. I've never seen a more unusual, it's like 3 legs, right? From a center coming out of Western Avenue and going 3 different directions. I remember the 15th ward and wards when they were cohesive, it made it easier to do stuff. That has to be a tough burden that you're taking on. And I admire you that you haven't given up on that, and it hasn't stopped you from reaching out to all ends of that ward.
We've made it work in the past, and no matter how stretched we are, we will make it work again. At the end of the day, what motivates us isn't the easy job, but the right job. And we will provide the service that people need and are owed. We will continue to be open to every community. And actually, as we welcome back Chicago Lawn into the 15th ward, we actually have a sizable Arab American population.
Yes,
in the area.
And those Arab Americans need to support you. And that's going to be one of my commitments to you, because when we needed you to stand up, not to fix anything, but to be a voice, to raise our issue up, you were there. Now we need to be there for you, because your voice is important to us. We need to make sure it stays there. Your voice is an entree into the city council. And when you get back there, which I believe is going to happen, it makes us feel that we have somebody that's going to speak up for us. I don't think we have any Arab Americans in the city council that I know of, but you're the closest. You're an honorary Arab American, and we really appreciate what you're doing. My guest is Alderman Raymond Lopez, and his website to help him is withray2023.com, withray2023.com. And I'm going to urge all Arab Americans, take a minute, go there and visit, support him. He hasn't asked you to do one thing for him. He's talked about all the things that he's doing for the city, for his constituents, and for people in general, because when you do good things for his community, you're doing good things for everybody. But I'm asking you, please support him. He's going to be at the Arab American Democratic Club brunch on Sunday, February 12th. Alderman, bring some of your campaign signs so we can get them out to Arab Americans that live in your ward, and we'll get Arab Americans to call people to support you and help you. Any final thoughts? We got like less than a minute, but just in case.
Now, you know what? Now's a chance for the Arab American community to stand up and be heard, be counted, to show their political muscle, and to not be forgotten after the election. I look forward to working with the entire community to get your agenda done.
Lori Lightfoot, the mayor, doesn't just want to silence you, Alderman. She wants to silence us. And she's tried. And because of you, she hasn't been successful. And we appreciate it. Alderman, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you, Ray.
And I want to thank all our listeners for joining us. This will be distributed on YouTube, TikTok, on Facebook. You'll be able to watch this interview for a few minutes. At the beginning, we had Abdelnasser Rashid, another great voice in the legislature. And of course, our guest this morning, Alderman Raymond Lopez. His website again is withray2023.com. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. And we will talk to you again soon. And visit Hanania.com for all my writing and radio and activism. Alderman, thank you again. You have a great week. We'll talk to you again. Bye-bye, everybody.
WNZK has